Hello, I'm Clint Walker, and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today we're going to talk about pricing development properties or raw land or teardowns, the right way to do it, and I guess how most people seem to do it wrong. Now, naturally, we're going to talk about the wrong ways first, and I guess mostly my experiences and what I consistently see, and it is really so disheartening, especially in Nashville, where there's such an active developer community. There's a tremendous need for, especially infill lots, teardowns, and that sort of thing, in the parts of town where that's happening. And it seems to never fail that I see one come up, or somebody, one of an agent colleague or somebody advertises they've got one off market that's not listed yet, and I call them. I spend my precious time calling them because that's what they've asked me to do, to inquire about how much they're asking for it, only to find out that their price is just astronomically unrealistic. But they feel like they have got a real basis for asking what they're asking. And I don't like to fight with people, especially, if you're asking 2 or 3 times as much as a teardown is worth, there's no reason to fight about it. You're going to put it on the market, and over the course of a year or 2 years of nobody being interested in this lot, you're going to find out that you've overpriced it. And the reason that, I don't really know the exact reason the agents are overpricing it, because to me it's very simple to see what these things are worth. But I suspect that people start to overprice these things because, one, they are looking at sales around, and they're not familiar with how to parse sales prices of teardowns that are selling as a 2 build or a 3 build versus a 1, or they're, in the case of the last one I called about, they're going way outside the market area of the subject that they're listing, and they're pulling a teardown from a neighborhood that has much higher price points, and they're trying to stick that on their teardown. It's just never going to happen. The other times, I think that I see a real emotional component with these teardowns, because the agent who's been selected to list the property is a friend of the owners, and those people are seeing these houses go up around them that they consider astronomically priced, and so somehow those price tags translate to their lot that's going to be sold as a teardown, and it just really doesn't. What else do I see? Really, honestly, it's the going outside the market area. It's the really sort of unrealistic reaching for price points that I see more often than anything. The other thing I see is, this is one I called about a few years ago that was for sale by owner. Bless the seller's heart. I hope that they get what they're asking for it, but they just simply do not understand how to price raw land. But they had a little piece of land, and they looked over at this ultra luxury subdivision across the street, and what lots were selling for in there. And their idea was, we're right across the street from this ultra luxury subdivision. They're selling acre and half acre lots in there for $1 million, so my 2 acre lot must be worth $3 million. Completely wrong. And so it's things like that they see all the time. And these are just, I'm sure you've seen other things too, where it's a beautiful piece of land and you'd love to have it, but the beauty of it and the desire for somebody to have it does not put a 2 or 3 times multiplier on the value of the land. It simply can't. And that's because ultimately your buyer is going to put a house on there, and that house can only be worth so much. There are, in most areas, and I've talked about this in other videos, in most areas there are limits on how expensive a house that you can build. And if you get above that, either buyers simply can't get above that because it's unrealistic in a world where, you know, there are limitations to how much money a person can accumulate, or you've got a savvy buyer and they understand that it doesn't make sense to go above that. So when people start putting these ridiculous multiples on their land based on really feelings and hopes and dreams, you make the land unbuyable. And if you're the agent in that scenario, maybe you're doing what your seller has asked you to do, and they know that this is based on a moonshot, and that's fine, really. I mean, if they're willing to sit for years on the market until the right buyer comes along and pays them their dream price for that property, that's really their choice, and I'm not here to criticize that. Where I grew up in Nolensville, there are some pieces of land along Nolensville Road that have literally been for sale by the same brokerage. I mean, I think for as long as I can remember, since I was 16, I feel like I was driving by these, and I'm about to turn 44. I feel like I was driving by these properties that have been for sale as commercial potential for that long. And it's fine. I assume that those sellers completely understand what they've signed up for. And I know I just described a 30-year period, but I really feel like that's how long I've seen for sale signs in front of these properties. So anyway, I feel like those are special cases. Most of them don't sit on the market for decades waiting for somebody to buy them. But you know, as a real estate agent, if your property sits for 6 months, that's a long time, and it's going to take a constant amount of communication to keep your seller calm and explain to them why that's happening. And as active as our developer and investor community is in Nashville, when you've got an investment property, the right price means that you can sell that property in one day. Whereas with a house that's not going to be attractive to an investor or developer, pricing it right means that you are simply pricing it to be in line with all the other properties. But when you've got people who have cash sitting and waiting to invest in real estate, selling in one day is always an option to you if you price it correctly. And so that's a conversation to have with your seller. How fast do you want me to sell this for you? Do you want to do a moonshot and let it sit on the market? Or do you want me to get it gone tomorrow? Because that's an option. To put a point on that, I recently bought a development property in North Nashville and it had a mobile home on it. And I thought I was going to have to tear that house down. But I got the idea that, well, it is a mobile home. Maybe there are companies out there who will either pay me a little bit for these things or at least take it off my hands for free. And if they take it off my hands for free, that will save me the cost of tearing it down, which is a significant amount of money. The last place I tore down, a tiny house in Lebanon, and I think we spent, this was 2019, okay? So I think we spent almost $10,000 tearing that place down then. So now I would expect to have spent 15 at least on tearing that mobile home down and hauling off the debris. So finding someone to take it off my hands without charging me was valuable. And so it took literally 30 minutes Google searching, and I found a company who agreed to do just that, and that place is going away. So 30 minutes, that house was gone. That's how long it took me to sell a house that essentially has no value to me. So you can do that with practically any property. So anyway, that all goes into sort of the doing it wrong of it. Doing it right is this. When you are selling a piece of land or a teardown in a market where your most likely buyer is a developer or an investor, doing it right means looking at what other developers and investors have paid for teardowns or fixer-uppers or raw land in that market, just like yours. Not doing a moonshot, not doing a pie-in-the-sky price, doing the price that you will see if you look at closed sales or the tax record, consistently gets these properties in your market sold for, and simply putting it on the market for that. It will be gone instantly, and it will be the right price. You won't have given it away. You won't have left money on the table, because these people buy based on a cost analysis, basically, or a ratio. I like to do it based on a ratio when we buy these places, but it's basically cost analysis. I know I can build this, and so I can pay X for the land. And that number is very consistent, okay? In most of these markets, an investor builder is building a product that makes them the most money, that allows them to make the most profit. And so they're able to pay X dollars for the lot. And usually the raw dirt, that's going to look like 15 to 20, 25% max, I think is what I've seen in like downtown markets. I think that's really because competition is high. But 15 to 25% of the best case scenario build is what they're going to be able to pay. So if all around you they're building $1 million houses, and your seller looks at them and says, "Oh, they're building $1 million houses. They must have money, so they must be able to pay $500,000 for my teardown." Wrong. That's 50%. There's no way. It's going to be more like 250. And if you look around at what, look at the finished products that those builders are selling those $1 million house for. Pull up the public record. Look at what they paid for that dirt. It's probably going to be around 20 to 25%. Okay. So again, I'm not faulting any seller if they want to do a moonshot, but what I want to give you is the ability to give them the best advice that you can, because I think that's how we serve our clients the best. And you'll frustrate me less when I call you to find out about the off-market property you're advertising. So check those public records. Pull you a few investor comps where you see the new construction that they built, and you can see what they paid for the land. Divide that land price by the total price and get that ratio, that percentage that they paid for that land, and you can use that. That's how we do it when we're appraising. You can use that ratio or that percentage to figure out land values, and you can apply it to what you're doing. So I hope that's helpful. If we can help you with an appraisal on one of those type properties, we'd be happy to do that. That's something we do a lot of. You can find us at appraiserpool.com. We can do those appraisals. We can do professional measurements or consultations. And I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a great week, and thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time.